What's up, guys and gals? It's the Tyrant here. Typically, I use Wednesdays as an opportunity to review games, but I have something a little bit different today. So most of you who are subscribers to my channel know that generally speaking, I'm loyal to the Halo franchise, and most of my videos are about Halo. But little known fact, I am loyal to another series too, and one that I've loved even longer than Halo. That's right, Resident Evil. And of course, I'm saying this right now to the maybe 10 people watching this video because it seems like whenever I posted any sort of Resident Evil content like full campaign and cutscenes or tips and tricks, no one ever watches them. Why? And it's a shame too, because Resident Evil is really the first franchise I was loyal to. It was the first franchise that I ever felt had a story for video games. Because let's face it, Mario might be fun, but there's not really much story content to be had there. The first Resident Evil game I played was in Resident Evil 2 back in 1998. And I had never seen such a violent, brutal video game before. Okay, except for you. But not in this way, not with a story that was so intriguing. I had played the game at a friend's house and it got me so sucked in that I finally bought myself a PlayStation. Keep in mind, this was back when I was in middle school and didn't have much money, and then I also bought Resident Evil 3 as well as the original one. And I instantly became addicted, but when they remade the original game, even as much as I loved Resident Evil 2, that became my new favorite Resident Evil. Yes, even more than Resident Evil 4. Even to this day, the Resident Evil remake is hailed as one of the greatest video game remakes of all time. And you might be asking yourself, why is that the case? And I can tell you at least part of the reason is that they stayed true to the original content. The controls are the same, the camera angles are the same. It feels like the same game, except not at the same time, and that is not easy to pull off. The music's still the same as it was in the original, but they've enhanced it to make it better, less 8-bit sounding, and they've added some interesting new mechanics, like you can't just shoot a zombie, you either have to blow its head off or you burn it, otherwise it comes back stronger and faster as a Crimson Head. They've added new elements to the story that didn't feel like they were tacked on there, they feel organic to the original plot. The acting is better in the remake, the CGI is better. It really is a solid game. In fact, if you don't believe me, I have a full campaign and cutscenes upload of it on this website. And then, as you know, over the last couple of years, they've started bringing the Resident Evils over to Xbox One. This includes the Resident Evil remake as well as Resident Evil 0. Remember, Capcom had this sort of awkward phase between the PlayStation years and the Xbox/PlayStation years, where they sort of got attached to Nintendo and released everything for GameCube. Yeah, that's right, the Mario system. But now they've started making the transition and putting all the Resident Evil games on Xbox Live. This does include the remake and 0, along with 4, 5, and 6. So right now, the only games that we're really missing from the main series are 2, 3, and Code Veronica. But it was announced in 2015 that they were doing a remake of Resident Evil 2 in the same spirit of the first remake. Originally, how this went down were fans of the series were doing a Resident Evil 2 remake in the spirit of Resident Evil 4 with the whole over-the-shoulder camera bit. Capcom got them to stop, brought some of those devs on board, and now we've got a Resident Evil 2 remake in the mix. We haven't heard much about it since the announcement, but I am so excited for this. So I have a few things that I want to shout out to Capcom to make sure that they get this right. First of all, once again, do not go the fan-made route and make this game in the spirit of the first one. Over-the-camera shoulder works for games like Resident Evil 4 because they're more action-oriented and they have enemies that are throwing projectiles at you. And I get that some people are annoyed with the tank controls of the original franchise, but it does make for a better survival horror game given the environment that you're in. Knowing that there's a monster somewhere off camera or a zombie or whatever is far scarier than being able to see it somewhere in the distance. So I hope they keep the remake in the same spirit that they did the other one, just make the models better and photorealistic environments. Basically make it look as fucking scary as possible. Secondly, just like in the original, you added new mechanics and features. Do that as well, but make sure that it's organic to the original game. The defense features of the original remake, keep it. The new zombie attacks, keep it. Those were all things that make the remake better than the original one. And if you can find a way to add new story elements to further expand the campaign, absolutely do that. I loved it when you did that for the original remake. But here's something else that I want you to consider. Don't just do Resident Evil 2, loop it in with Resident Evil 3. Reason being, so Resident Evil 3, unlike the other two games before it, only had one campaign. However, it also tied in really, really well with Resident Evil 2. Keep in mind that Resident Evil 3 took place both before and after Resident Evil 2, so having those both campaigns as a package deal would be phenomenal. Not to mention that there were a lot of settings from Resident Evil 2 in Resident Evil 3, and just having them together would be awesome. And like I said, it shouldn't be too difficult because unlike the games that came before it, Resident Evil 3 is only one campaign. And I shouldn't even have to mention at this point that Nemesis is one of the most iconic Resident Evil villains in existence. No, I mean seriously, it was the one thing that the movies actually got right. And yeah, sure, I'd love to see Code Veronica looped in down the road at some point too, but not as badly as 3. If you're gonna do 2, please do 3 with it. These are 2 best-selling games. They're really the last 2 games that you need on the Xbox and would go so well with the first one. Now, like I said before, we don't really know when the game is supposed to be released because we haven't really heard a lot about it since its original announcement, but it is still in production. We do know that much. And there is an untitled Capcom release that's a large one coming out in January of 2018. And you know what my money's on. So if you haven't checked out the other Resident Evil videos on my site, please go check those out now and let me know in the comments below what your favorite Resident Evil game is. Also, you can tell me on both Facebook and Twitter. Links to my social media can be found in the description below. And if you like this video, hit that subscribe button, boing, for more video game related content every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on MythicTyrant.com. Don't forget about Q&A Saturdays as well as Sunday Fun Days. Thanks so much for watching, guys and gals. I'll catch you right back here next time. And as always, I'm the Tyrant, signing off.